Hi, I'm River Rose. I'm joined today by Manjinder. She's going to introduce herself now before we commence with the interview for Russell Webster's peer volunteer website. Hi, Manjinder.
Hi, River. I'm Manjinder Purewal. I'm the Head of Implementation for Lived Experience for the Probation Service.
Thank you. My first question to you is, what is the value of lived experience members within your organisation, please?
So for us, it's really, really critical because involving the people who use our services and listening to them and how we design and deliver our services is really key to our mission and our vision. And that's to protect the public and obviously help individuals live law-abiding lifestyles. It also helps us in terms of listening to what works, what doesn't work, and listening to people who have been through our services to tell us, what helps and what doesn't help. And we want those sorts of views from right down from our top senior management decision making all the way down to local office decision making. So we really want to hear and listen to the views of the people who use our services in order to shape and improve service delivery. So we had a survey commissioned as well, actually, by the Ministry of Justice that found that over 90% of businesses that employ ex-offenders said that they were reliable, good at their job, punctual and trustworthy. And business owners said they're the most reliable people that worked in their team. And that's because people with lived experience had a desire to prove themselves and now had something to actually lose. So having spoken to people who work in the civil service, people with lived experience, their feedback was one of pride and that someone believed in them, gave them a second chance and they wanted to grab it and are determined to make a success of that chance. So there's a real sense of pride of being a positive contributor to society. And actually for us, that makes a huge difference to what we do and shaping what we do going forward. And that all of that in itself will obviously help to reduce reoffending and stop people from, making mistakes they may have made previously and taking chances that they are given. So that's why it's so important to us.
Oh, that's an amazing. Thank you so much. I completely agree with everything you've said, and I can relate to it as well. That's really nice to go on to my second question, which is, what do you do in terms of supporting your volunteers or lived experienced employees, please?
Okay, so obviously it goes without saying that in order to answer that question, we really needed to ask colleagues with lived experience or those who volunteer for us. So some of those had entered through paid employment after working as peer mentors, and others, were directly employed with us, not through the peer mentoring route. So as a summary, before I give you some quotes, they basically painted a picture of positive support, a lack of negative judgment, which is perhaps something that they would have expected prior to kind of either volunteering or working for us, a change in attitudes for the better, and managers being open and honest with them. So that's just a summary. So some of the quotes. I think as an organisation, we are supportive of people with lived experience who work or volunteer for us. Over time, we have come to value people with lived experience and benefit from the knowledge they bring. We are supportive of volunteers and want to support them into employment. We provide training, development plan, supervision, recognising that volunteers should be valued as a team member. So that's somebody who manages peer mentors and also has lived experience herself. Another quote, I feel the organisation, in particular the programmes team, have been very supportive of people with lived experience and have been non-judgmental towards staff members who have them. Another one, I think there's been a big change in attitude since I first started out as a peer mentor, with more people within the organisation being accepting of us and the experience we bring to the table. I personally have, this is another quote, I personally have been supported by my team to be able to continue my healing journey. Another one, my managers have always been open and honest and have discussed how I manage being a person with lived experience in a group setting if the subject was ever to arise. So yeah, a good range there of people supporting that. We obviously are supporting them. In addition, we also have a lived experience experts panel, and those are people who have lived experience and work in the civil service, not just in probation service, but the wider civil service. And that panel provides us an opportunity to take to them policies, guidance documents, ideas, etc., and say, what do you think? This is what we're planning, or this is, you know, this is the intention. Do you think it would work? Do you think it's negative? You know, what parts do you think wouldn't be helpful? And that panel, you know, really are honest and tell us from their experiences what would help them in that position and what they feel wouldn't have helped. And that really helps us to go back to drawing boards and thinking about, well, you know, we've heard from experts as to what would work and what wouldn't, and then reshaping things. So that's a real positive way in which we're supporting people. And another great example is the Going Forward into Employment scheme that we have. The Probation Service basically has a strategy to employing 150 people with lived experience by April 22. And basically one of the pathways is to using Going Forward into Employment, where during the latter part of people's prison sentence, or, you know, during their time on license or a probation order, we can offer them the opportunity of applying for posts in the Probation Service, and they're supported through the Going Forward into Employment scheme, so that adverts are written in a way that are simpler, expressions of interest, CVs. The Going Forward into Employment team assist them with writing those, etc., providing clothing if they need them for interviews, and really supporting and prepping them in readiness for the interview. The interview is then held by the relative probation team. And then when the offers are made, the Going Forward into Employment scheme helps the individual with the vetting process, which is the process that we need to obviously undertake, which looks into previous convictions and the impact or risk assessment that follows in terms of, is that person suitable and safe to be placed in that employment? But the scheme recognises we need flexibility, because, you know, that there's convictions there, but we work in a flexible way, which is about getting to understand the person and the position they're in today, rather than just focusing on what the convictions written on paper. So that's a really, you know, crucial scheme that we're using at the moment to support and help getting, you know, ex-offenders, current offenders into employment in the civil service.
Everything you've just said is like music to my ears. I can't help but feel, I actually do. That's incredible. Yeah. Not sure how I'm going to answer the question.
We've really revised our strategy, and we are looking at all the things, all the hurdles that we perhaps have in our organisation, and looking at what can we do to start changing that and changing the culture, so that we can actually start, you know, getting more and more people with lived experience into the organisation, because we see the value and the benefit.
I cannot thank you enough. What an amazing example you are to other organisations, and the fact that you're demonstrating how valuable and how much it's working, not just for the organisations but for the public in general, is exactly what we need to see and exactly what we need to hear. So please do continue doing what you're doing. It's incredible. Thank you. We've got a long way to go, though. We're definitely not the end product. Well, my next question is, what do you think you could do to possibly improve what you're doing where lived experience people are concerned? Yeah, so again, obviously, if we take lived experience as we want to, you know, develop our strategy, I had to ask people with lived experience that question: what do they think we as an organisation could do better? And so some of the comments. I was very fortunate as a peer mentor that I got an experience of a wide variety of opportunities within the service, including supporting with education and within the women's group. I hope the organisation can offer similar opportunities to current and future mentors. We ourselves actually want to find a route to ensure that our peer mentors mutually benefit from their work, that there is sufficient reward and recognition for their voice, for their input, their positive impact on the people that they have. And we know some of our processes get in the way of that, such as paying expenses and you know, sort of just the automated processes can be difficult if people aren't staff members. So we know we've got things in terms of processes that we need to rectify. In addition, peer mentoring is only available in some locations based upon transition from community rehabilitation companies. So at this moment in time, we don't have peer mentoring throughout the organisation in every location. So we do have a national plan in place as to how we might be able to do that and increase the use of volunteers, so that obviously service users all over the UK can obviously benefit. So that is an area that we're looking into. We also need to take
what's the word? Yeah, so obviously more creative, flexible approach to getting people into employment, and obviously the going forward into employment is one area. But we need a more responsive approach once people are in the service in terms of supporting them. So things that we could include are group sessions with other lived experience peers for mutual support, additional clinical supervision if it's required, bespoke coaching and mentoring by a senior manager, having experience to move. What we want is a development program and progression plan for people with lived experience to remove the feeling that there's a ceiling in the organisation, or that they should feel grateful that perhaps they've got this far and this is probably enough for me. We want them to feel that actually they can go as far as they want to. So these are things that, we're really working on in terms of, we don't want there to be a ceiling. We want people to reach the full range of senior roles. We obviously have lots of vetting processes, and we could do with streamlining, making them simpler, making them easier for individuals to get through. They can seem daunting, especially because of the level of questioning that is asked about people's backgrounds and personal information, and that can sometimes put people off. So we need to look into how we can obviously, make that easier really and more flexible. We also need to think about, obviously, lived experience colleagues, often will share, their views, their feelings, their story, their journeys, and we need to make sure that we don't re-traumatize and that we actually offer them support, and not just assume that just because they're willing to tell their story that's all they need, that it was their choice kind of thing. We need to actually show that we're supportive and put in plans to make sure that we have that ready, really, because somebody might feel very confident at the time, and then when they come away they suddenly realize they're not feeling that same level of confidence now that they've given their story. So we just need to constantly make sure that we've got those support barriers around them. I think that's probably all to say on that.
Thank you, Manjinder, for your time and your amazing expertise and the thoroughness that you've gone into answering the questions, by making sure that you've involved people with lived experience to make sure that they're being heard as well. Absolutely incredible. I could not be more impressed if I tried. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Like I said, we're a work in progress. We've got more to do.